There was a conversation about his equalising goal as to whether or not it hit a TV cable that was mounted at the top of the stadium. Now, FIFA have released footage of the sneakometer, and it said that it did not, in fact, make any contact with that wire. Archie, the Norwegians were clearly furious about that. I was wondering what those around you are saying.
I'm just going to have to send it back to you because there's some inappropriate language, Dan.
So all right, OK, thank you very much, Archie. I didn't know Stevie was in Norway, but there we go. Overall, you have to take FIFA's word for it, don't you? In this
well, I'm sorry, but we saw the ball and we saw that there was a move on the way down to the ball. So they say they didn't touch. I want to believe them. So what touched the ball? Because the ball changed direction.
The game is finished, and the game was never going to be because these complaints were several minutes after, well, certainly that we were made aware of. The Norwegian bench reacted to it. But the general complaints that went to FIFA seemed quite a long time after it, so they're never going to say anything else. And I'm not going to shove any allegations towards anybody, but one thing I will say, in this competition, is nobody can trust FIFA. Nobody. I'm not accusing him of anything, but I'm saying there's a lot of distrust, particularly after the red card Balogun shambles, that nobody, and this is what happens, when you rule tournaments and you're an organisation that basically does what it wants, when it wants, then it leaves you open to all these conspiracies when there is a controversial incident that FIFA will just brush it under the carpet. And I don't know if it did or not, but they have brought this conspiracy on themselves by the way they have acted, and that's the problem.
But what would be the reason for the FIFA to not, or to the referee to say, OK, that touched...
Because the game had already gone on by several minutes, or maybe more, and you would had to have gone back, if this was the case, and chopped a goal off that happened quite some time ago, which would have been a really bad look. So anyway, listen, I'm sure, particularly in Norway, they're going to be talking about this a lot. Maybe as we go down the line, there'll be some different angles and whatnot. Maybe we will discuss. What I do know is that anything FIFA says, unfortunately, as a broad message around the globe, there's a lot of people that will just say, we do not trust this organisation to tell us, the media, or the viewer or the public, the truth.
I think we can chat to Archie now. Archie, what are they saying about that incident?
We're talking about the goal which England scored where it hit the wire, apparently, allegedly. Yeah. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I've seen that didn't apparently trigger a sensor in the ball. This is what the FIFA line is on it that I've seen so far. They were trying to show it on Norwegian telly here, but I don't think the whole message got across. I think the main line of Norwegian frustration from today is actually not at the referee, it's more at Alexander Sørloth. Because at 1-0, he has that chance where he goes through on goal. It's 2 against 1 with Erling Haaland as well, and he doesn't manage to play the ball across. He cuts inside, and by that point, the chance is gone. And if Norway double their lead, in a similar way that if Congo had doubled their lead against England, who knows what might have happened. Sure, they brought on Antonio Nusa for a bit more excitement. That got the crowd going here, but to no avail, ultimately. Oscar Bob with that late opening as well. But I think from Norway's point of view, it's just so disappointing that they had England on the ropes. Even that chance where Julian Ryerson crosses the ball in, where I'm thinking, if England have done their research, they need to know that Julian Ryerson is an excellent crosser of the ball, and you cannot allow those kind of opportunities to get into Erling Haaland. And that was probably Erling Haaland's best chance of the game, but he heads it straight at Jordan Pickford. And after that, I can't really remember too many occasions. The crowd here, I was told they would be happy to celebrate Norway if they lost, but I think that the circumstances of this, plus the fact that it rained on them for a good 2 hours, it's just gone past 2 in the morning here, I think that's all dampened the spirits a little bit.
The Sørloth selection was a little strange. I know he played in the first game, he came off at half-time. He's an out ball for long balls and diagonals, but Oscar Bob and Nusa are more... are natural wingers, and Sørloth is not. He's a big up and down, a big ham and egg striker, and not a very subtle one at that. But if you're going to play those out balls, diagonal balls, you really got to have a fullback that he's got an advantage on. And Nico O'Reilly's 6'4". Yeah, exactly. And what Nico O'Reilly isn't is a natural defender. He's actually a midfielder. So I think if I was sole backing, I wouldn't have wanted that fight against Nico O'Reilly. I would have wanted a natural quick winger because that puts him on the back foot against a player that in a position that he's played at Man City. But it's not natural for him. What is natural for him is having a big lad that they want to play long balls to, and he can go and scrap because he's probably as big almost as Alexander Sorloth. So, and that's not just because he didn't play that ball to Erling Haaland. That's just an observation about if I had a small left back and I wanted to have a mismatch, then I could see that at the back post and all that sort of stuff for crosses. But that was a little bit of a strange one. And I do feel Norway will feel they've left something on the table tonight. For some reason, they bossed Brazil for big chunks of the game. But for half an hour of this England game, they let England do what they want. I know they took the lead with Shelder up, but they basically camped in the edge of their own box for the first 30 minutes. Yet against Brazil, a team as technical as England, if not more, Norway bossed them with the ball. But yet it seemed a little passive to me. Whether they were trying to suck England in and then tire them out and then come at them, maybe that was a tactic.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it worked for 10 minutes after the 30 minutes you're talking about.
It's strange that, Frank, anyway.
Well, I just want to bring Archie. What happened to that Norwegian side that we saw stand up against Brazil? It wasn't quite the same sort of performance today.
No, I think what happened is that they were happy to give ground in the knowledge that they were going to have to find their moment to press in the first half. Such was the predicted heat that we had in Miami. And one of the things that they highlighted on Norwegian TV at halftime was how Martin Odegaard gave a command to go and press England just after the half-hour mark. And it was in that moment that Norway suddenly started dominating the game and where they needed to go for the jugular and where they got punished in the same way that they punished Brazil, where they just didn't take enough of their chances, and they had the openings there. Also, I remember that chance where Erling Haaland nearly gets on the end of a John Stones back pass, where I think from an English perspective you're going, what is happening here? So from that moment, I think they had that feeling of we're under no pressure when we're ahead, and actually you felt that. It was such a sucker punch the way that Jude Bellingham scored just before halftime because England hadn't really looked dangerous at all. And suddenly maybe the pressure started to creep onto them a little bit more. And you see what happens with Ørjan Neuland. Now, there's been a lot of talk about him here about whether he should be the Norwegian #1, and that talk was ended in the Brazil game. However, my question before this was, is he going to be able to put in another stellar performance? And unlike in the Brazil game where he was being tested quite regularly, and I think it's sometimes easier to switch on as a goalkeeper, here in this game, Morgan Rogers fires a shot, and much like we saw with Senna Lamens, he's for Belgium the other night, he spills it, and there's Jude Bellingham. And ultimately, it's that tiny moment that costs them. You think as well of the image we saw at the end of full-time with Erling Haaland having his thigh massaged very thoroughly. I think that ultimately he ran out of gas in the end as well. And without him, and without being able to get the ball up to him, as you've been saying, that ended up being it for Norway. And yeah, I think the disappointment is that they got themselves ahead, but then they couldn't control the game from there.
I don't know how Erling Haaland was out of gas because and I don't have the stats. I'd like to see the stats if we get them at some point about his kilometres travelled during this game. But he certainly, in terms of the eye test, did less running than any other Norway player. And that's okay because that's what he does. So then I would be surprised then if he needed to come off for fatigue.
There you go. Your wish is your...
Well, we don't know, but...
Yeah, I don't know, but and the other side... So that would surprise me because his game is walking around and coming alive when they get the ball with a ball in behind or across, like he did against Brazil. Walked around, sauntered around. Even when he scored the header, he was walking around for...
Yeah, and he just made like five years run when he scored the header. Yeah,
so he has to have had some sort of problem because otherwise he's got a fitness issue. And maybe as the days go by, we'll hear about that because you're a star player. Come on, you're one of the world's best. I'm a little tired. It's a World Cup quarter-final, extra time. I'm not coming off. Nobody's coming off. You have to drag me off. And I think if I was a Norway fan, going back to this whole England possession, England played at altitude in the Azteca in Mexico City, which we all know is tough. They played a lot of the second half, the bulk of the second half with 10 men. It was a Mexican wave of attacks, defending the box, defending. Harry Kane couldn't speak after the game. They were knackered, absolutely knackered. And what did Norway do today? They gave England 30 minutes rest at the start of the game. They allowed England to control the tempo, defenders could just hold the line, and Norway camped in. So they basically, in a game that lasted 120 minutes in the end with the extra time, they gave England 30 minutes of rest. That's a benefit to the team that's just been played, the game that England played in Mexico at altitude with Declan Rice, who had to go off at half-time because apparently he hasn't been feeling well, and all these players that were out on their knees after that victory at the Azteca. Why would you allow them that 30 minutes of respite?
If I'm a Norwegian player, I go back to the hotel, I say, what a frustration. We didn't do what we had to do. Yes, it's what I said when I explained, what I was feeling about the game. I felt England in possession of the ball, in control of the game, but because Norway allowed them to do so. I'm 100% with you. We didn't see them. They should have gone and pressed the English team at the beginning of the game. And when they did so, supposedly with Archie, according to Martin Odegaard, asking them to press, I didn't see that. But for 10 minutes, we didn't see England anymore, and they were struggling. And it's when Norway scored, they had another chance. And the 5 minutes before the halftime, it was for me seeing Norway being tired and England coming back into the game. But I think it's not. It's because Norway allowed England to play that way. So I think it's why I would be frustrated, because I think that was the wrong tactic.